Looking at one of the most iconic animated films of all time, Shrek, made in 2001. But the real question we want to know, guys, is does it hold up to this day? Join me after this intro. UK from the R&R YouTube channel Recommend and Review, and we're going to be taking a look at the 2001 classic Shrek, and we're going to be going into quite a lot of detail. So subscribe, like, comment. Let's get that out of the way. Let's get into it, guys. So Shrek is one of the best animated films of all time, breaking box office records when it first came out and absolutely delivering massively. And to me, this is one of the best, up there with the likes of your Toy Stories and the likes of these other big animated films. This film matches adult humour and kids' humour into this magical film of fantasy, in which is amazing and is regarded as one of the best films made in the thousands. So if you haven't checked it out yet, I would go ahead and check it out. So let's get into the positives and negatives of this film and why we love this film and why people may hate this film. One of the main positives of the film Shrek, the 2001 classic, is the fact that this is a star-studded cast. And if you're one of those people who likes to watch it with your big named actors in and your big named actresses, this is probably the film for you, because Mike Myers, the guy that's in Austin Powers, you've got Cameron Diaz, who plays Fiona, who's in practically everything, anything to do with love, anything, something about Mary, she's in, and also Eddie Murphy, Nutty Professor, and a load of other enjoyable comedies. So, why is star-studded a positive? Sometimes it can be a negative, but in this aspect, the reason why they work so well, and the reason why I asked the question, does it work? And yes, it does work, because they flow well together. You can clearly see it's believable that Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy get along well together, even if they've never met, because the humour that they possess and the two comedians colliding into this script just makes sense. It just does, because Mike Myers portrays this lovely Scottish accent, in which I actually thought this was actually his real voice. Not for years and years, I actually thought, is he Scottish? So he's believable, you know what I mean? He's quite believable as Shrek, and Eddie Murphy is quite believable as Donkey, because they portrayed the characters 100% right. There weren't a bad word to say about them, and even Cameron Diaz as Fiona, no, you can't see anybody else in those roles as those characters. And even John Lithgow, who plays Lord Farquaad as well, I cannot imagine anybody else playing those roles. But what they did in this film and how they got along and how the characters were portrayed and how they played their roles correctly was just amazing for me. And that you can turn around and say sometimes a film's got too many stars in, like for instance Expendables, maybe that didn't go off as well as it should have because it was just full of stars and you didn't know where to look. However, this is full of stars and it's an animation, so it worked and they made the film better. If you'd put anybody else in there, I think it would have fallen apart. But yeah, I think this is a huge positive for the film and the story, as these compelling actors and actresses came together to produce a masterpiece. Another big positive for me is the fact that it stands up in today's sort of world as a big sort of thing. And you might be like, well, what are the reasons why it stands up in today's world? I'll give you some. The fact that it shows a strong leading female, and you might be like, well, Shrek's the lead character. He is. However, to me, the film is nothing without Fiona. And to me, Cameron Diaz portrays Fiona brilliantly as a strong female who isn't seen as like one of these princesses in these princess films that needs saving. She doesn't need saving, because in the scene with the, obviously But it just shows she could have escaped that tower if she wanted to. But it was just her fantasy that someone saved her. But in the scene where, obviously Shrek's already saved at this point, and they're just walking by and having an argument or something, and then they get bumped into by Robin Hood and his men, she single-handedly fights them all off. No joke. Because Shrek were just all like, yeah, maybe I should step in. And then she just fucking fights them all off. And it's just like dude, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And it's like, if you're portraying this in modern day, if you're saying that you want to present this sort of film to people now, if this film came out now, people would still love it. Because the story is so compelling, and the fact that it's got a woman in it who's strong-willed and presented as strong. Because most old princess films and fairy tale films are presented that the woman always needs saving. But that's not really the concept. Even though that's what happens, it's not the concept. Because obviously she does get saved from the castle. However, she could have easily walked out. That was just her fantasy, to be saved by someone, like a knight in shining armour. And it turns out it weren't really a knight in shining armour she really wanted. You know what I mean? But obviously, this is a major positive if you were bringing this film out in today's day and age. And of course, and if you're thinking, well, does this film still hold up now? And I would say yes, because obviously they brought out the musical, didn't they? Not that long ago, maybe about 10 years ago now, but it's still one of the most popular musicals that's ever come out, and people still go. I think there's still musical shows on Shrek because it's such a big and iconic film that they can they can perform and it work as a musical. Another positive is the soundtrack, and you might be like, why is the soundtrack such a positive? And I think it is because films can be made and films can be broken with the soundtrack that they use. For instance, would Rocky be the film it is to this day without the soundtrack? No, is the answer. Would other films, I can't name one at the top of my head, Grease, would the songs used in Grease of because Grease is a musical, but let's say if they put different songs in there, would it be as popular today? I don't think so. It's that simple. The music can make or break a film, and with this, it starts off with All Star by Smash Mouth, in which you go, okay, good song. And that is a good way. To me, films that start off that way normally turn out to be good films. Like, if you start off with a good song, hard-hitting song like that, you go, okay, let's keep watching, because then you see the scenes and everything like that, and then obviously after that, because you're concentrating then, because you're like, oh, this is one of my favourite songs, or I've never heard this song before, but I want to hear it again as soon as I come out of the cinema, because it's such a good song. But it might be a memorable part in your brain then about that film. Because also what is used in that as well is the song Bad Reputation by Joan Jett or something, which is also a really cool song, and it's used in a little wrestling sort of fighting scene as well, and it just performs it brilliantly. And then the other amazing song in there is Hallelujah and I'm a Believer, in which those four songs alone, I think there's other songs in there as well, like when when Shrek sat there eating his fucking thing where Fiona's just fucked off to get married. There's another song in there which isn't too bad, but those are your four main ones. Four really, really, really good songs in there. And that, to me, symbolises Shrek, those four songs. Not any other films. I know Bad Reputation is in Kick-Ass, but Bad Reputation belongs to Shrek, in my opinion. Finally, then, the last positives is the themes in Shrek. The main themes I can think of is don't judge a book by its front cover. Love. I think other ones that you can look at is friendship as well. I think those are your three main themes in this. And yeah, I think let's dive deeper into these three themes. So first of all, we'll go into love because it's the easiest one. I think this is based throughout the film, not just between Shrek and Fiona. I think love is presented throughout this film with, there's some love in there when Shrek and Donkey start making their little relationship with each other, sort of pals. There's a bit of love in there, a bit of sort of togetherness. This also goes in with friendship. So they love each other and friendship between them because they get on with each other. You can feel the enjoyment between the two, and that they care about each other. Then obviously love comes into it further again when Shrek feels that, because he doesn't feel anything when he saves Fiona. Let's be honest. He just saves her from the dragon, brings her out, and then it's just sort of like, aren't you gonna kiss me or something? I think that's what Fiona says, and it's just like, no, I'm not bothered because I'm sending you to Lord Farquaad, and she's just like, okay then. You know what I mean? So then, obviously, Shrek doesn't feel love at that particular point for Fiona, but then he does at the part where she sees him. He sees her more like him. In the parts where she's eating like fucking cobwebs and blowing up frogs and all this part, and that's where you can see the two getting along together. That's where you can see he loves her and she loves him, and you can see something in there. However, the jealousy of Shrek and the anger of Shrek overhearing a conversation dwindles that a bit, puts love on the back burner until he finds out that he misheard what she was saying about him being ugly and things like that. She weren't aiming at him, she was aiming at her because obviously she is an ogre as well. And the fact that she turns an ogre at night, and that's why she was saying it and things like that. But he didn't realise that at the time, so he sent it to Lord Farquaad. But then the love comes back in it at the end, where Shrek comes down and stops the wedding from happening, and obviously leading to Shrek marrying Fiona at the end of the film. And so the other themes that we said was friendship. Friendship is, again, the friendship between Donkey and Shrek, which is presented through all the film. They do have ups and downs, the two. Like, Shrek isn't a real fond of Donkey at the start, you know what I mean? Gets on his nerves a bit. But that is what friendship is about. People may get on your nerves, or he may get on Shrek's nerves, or whatever. But you're still good pals because they do get along together. And he does seem quite annoying, but we've all got that annoying friend. But they get on. There's friendship in between. And in the serious moments, they connect well with each other. And then finally, don't judge a book by its cover. And I think this is the main positive and the main theme running throughout the thing. Because Shrek is sort of the epitome of don't judge a book by its cover. Because you think he's the bad guy. No, you're wrong. He's not the bad guy. He just looks like the bad guy because he's scary, he's green, and he looks like he could fucking kill you. Let's be honest. However, that's not how it is at all. He's caring, he likes friendship, he finds love with Fiona. He has the same feelings as everybody else, but he's judged wrongly by what he looks like. And that is same with Fiona. She doesn't act like a princess, even though that's what she's dressed up to be. She eats cobwebs with spiders on, she blows up snakes, she does all this. And you wouldn't have expected that going into this film if I just said the plot is that this ogre saves this princess from a tower, and yeah, that's sort of the main plot, isn't it? Saves her from the tower and then fall in love. You might be thinking like Rapunzel and Sleeping Beauty, where knight in shining armour and that she needed saving and all the rest of it, but she isn't ladylike in that sense. She isn't, in the typical stereotypical way, she isn't ladylike. Even though we all know she's a very strong-willed woman now, but back in 2001 that might have just been seen as unwomanly like and whatever. But then you find out the reasons why that is because she's an ogre. But you don't find that until later on in the film that explains all this shit. And yeah, to me, it just fits everything well together. And don't judge a book by its cover is presented throughout the entire film. You can even look at other parts and be like, yep, that is. Because you're just looking at... Because when you watch the film, you're not analysing it as you should. But this is a major, major thing that happens in the film. So let's go on to the negatives, and there's only one negative I can really think of, and that might be like, okay, what is that then? And I think that negative is one thing, and that is maybe you could argue that the graphics and the animation is not up to today's standard. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with the animation as such. It's just the fact that how technological advances have developed over, 20 years since that film has impacted Shrek. Because if you look at the newer sort of animations over the past 10 years, you're looking at your Despicable Me's, your Minions, your fucking Toy Story 4's, Cars 3's, all these other ones that have been done in the last 10 years between DreamWorks, Walt Disney and Illumination. Shrek is now quite poor in animation compared to... If you compare Despicable Me's animation to Shrek's, Despicable Me's is cleaner, it looks definitive, looks $1 million. Where Shrek, on a poor budget animation, doesn't look terrible, but it's poor compared to that. However, I would say that I don't necessarily think it affects the film and the story, but I just had to point out that it is a negative, because if the animation was better, maybe people would put it as high regard, and put it up as a higher regard for what it is. So let's summarise. So, the film Shrek on IMDb, I think, is rated a 7.9 from the last time I looked, or 7.8, 7.9-ish, I think. It'll be up on the screen somewhere, and then Rotten Tomatoes 88%, I believe. And that's not bad at all, but I think it's better than that. I think this is one of the best films ever made in the animation sector. I wouldn't put it up there with like Terminator 2 and all these, and Jaws, like, for instance, but they're on a different wavelength. You've got to judge it by what is it? Is it an animation? I can't judge it and say it's better than Jaws. I can't compare the two because they're two different kettles of fish. However, in terms of an animation, film, comedy and things like that, I think this is one of the best. I think you could flip a coin between several animations: Shrek 1, Shrek 2, Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2. Those are the best 4 animations, in my opinion, of all time. But then you've just got to decide which one takes the top spot. And I wouldn't say it's this one, but it's in the top 5, isn't it? So I'm going to rate this a 9 out of 10. So please let me know what you think this is, because I think this is a legendary film, around a 9.1-ish out of 10. Please let me know in the comments down below what you think this film is rated as, and what other suggestions you would like to see in this next review, or in the next review. Get them down in the comments. Let's get reading them. And also, this is the clue for the next review, which is hopefully be out in a week's time. So I'll catch you guys in the next video, guys. See you later.